This video is long overdue. I recorded it a couple times before, but I wanted to make sure that I do the book and by proxy the program justice. So I spent a couple days trying to nail everything down. I've also been fairly busy, so yeah, hopefully everything, the audio, things like that, are good, and I do the program justice. First off, I think it's a good idea to buy the book. Cody is generous enough to lay out his entire program basically on his YouTube channel, which you can watch on Sandbag Intensity, the program. Even as a person who tries to minimize spending the best he can, as well as manage these things to a fair degree, I think the book is still worth it to get, as the motivational stories and things like that in the intro of the book, as well as more information on how the program, or the reasoning behind how the program is ran, or like the decisions made for the programming, as well as it being slightly easier to understand the progression system and factors like that, um, as it's written down in the book, compared to just purely watching the video. Um, it's not a complicated program by any means, but as a person who only ran simplistic programs before this, such as starting strength, the 5x5s, strong lifts, or super squats, it's still, the progression system is still more complicated than these basic programs. It's not as complicated as something like Shaco or um, complex RPE based systems, but just keep that in mind, as the progressions are still more complex than a very rudimentary linear progression, so to speak. So, first, just starting off, um, the reasoning I got the book and want to follow the Sandbag Intensity program is mainly based on a couple factors. Um, Always wanted to support Cody and been a fan of the Stone Circle channel for a really long time. So once my funds and things like that are got a bit better this semester, I decided to support him, get the books, right? And as a person who really likes training stuff, like with a bit of shiny object syndrome as well as program hopping, I do think it's very important to pull back everything and run a more simplistic, basics focused type phase rather than anything too complex. So Sandbag Intensity is perfect for that. Um, it's interesting because in the book, the sandbag to shoulder is not included. I think part of the reasoning is Sandbag Intensity is more of a put your head down and work type program. So, as it focuses on simplicity and effort and all the bare bone basics that you really want to nail as base building or starting out, or just even to just remind yourself of these things training wise, I think Sandbag Intensity is perfect for that. If anyone have seen the state of my small room and what an absolute mess that is, I think it's good to run a simplistic equipment minimalist style program with clear progressions. Another factor is I haven't really mentioned it, but just to go off track, after my knee injury, the first thing I worked on was walking backwards and balancing on that one leg. Balancing. Past that, I started introducing wall sits, first from a high joint angle all the way to parallel, wall sit isometrics to work on the knee. Then I included backwards sled drags, which you can maybe see in one of my older videos. And past that, we worked on Spanish squats, first Spanish squats isometrics, and then adding banded Nordics into the equation. From those progressions, my knee was feeling better, and around that time, we worked on some hinging patterns, light deadlifts, good mornings, and um, worked on box squatting from a high box, really low range of motion, and then just working on squatting. And from that, we progressed to increase range of motion. So at this point, I can squat to depth, but it's kind of unstable. It's not very comfortable. So another reason of why I think this program is good for me, or a reason that I'm choosing it, is that since box squats was already a part of what I was doing in my attempts to rehab my knee, I don't think box squats will further aggravate my injury. And if I progress for it slowly, I'll get stronger, which is always beneficial. And on the third day off, on how you would run the program, I can work on things like deep squatting and Nordics, which was a part of my goals before the program, and I want to keep it in there. I just can't train too hard because technically that's supposed to be a rest day. Yeah, so those are my reasoning for the program of why I'm choosing to run it. Some other additional things that I like is a lot of things from the program, despite the progression methods and equipment, is that you could technically change a lot of the things equipment wise to what you want, right? I do recommend getting a actual sandbag. I personally think adjustable, especially if you need to save space, and actually to use a plyo box, like a mini plyo box. I think it's nice because it's a fixed surface, so if you squat into it, it wouldn't sink down or anything. But I don't think it matters that much. If you have the space, the funds, get a bunch of sandbags. It'll be awesome. But if you can't, I think an adjustable one and a um, small plyo box is pretty good. The thing is, a lot of things you could swap out, right, or DIY. So theoretically, this program should be super accessible. Um, I feel like sandbags are oddly expensive. Like, I don't know. All right, that's a complaint for a later day. Um, Sandbags are oddly more expensive than I think they should be. But whatever. I think a Roman chair or 45 degrees back extension is nice to do the core part of the workout. But I think you can replace that with a lot of different other things other than the main sandbag sets. I feel like many of the other things you could do other stuff. A place where you could do pull-ups and dips is also like a necessary part of the program. Maybe an ab roller, but ab rollers are pretty cheap. If you have a power rack, that would be awesome for the pull-ups. You can have a dip station, or you can hang rings. Similarly, many door frame setups could probably work. My door is much smaller to fit a regular pull-up bar, like a regular door pull-up bar. So I have to use these clip ones, which are kind of sketch. Um, so yeah, but my point is, for the arms section, for the core section, um, that one giant set, you could use a lot of different tools that you like. So yeah, I do recommend a Roman chair though, if you have the space, which you can fold up and then store it somewhere. Um, if you have the funds for it, it's not the priciest thing. It's pretty expensive, but it's not terrible. I think doing the core section is pretty great. Abs are pretty hard on it, so if you saw in my video, I tried to do as many of it as I can and then did regular sit-ups. I know the core part of the program is more for blood flow, and it isn't supposed to be that difficult, but I think it's I think it's important to like challenge myself, I guess. So I do recommend the 45 degrees back extension, uh, just for core, the obliques, obviously back extensions. I think it's great. Um, Onto the calisthenics portion, I've never done any race the clock type of training or a set time limit. So this stimulus was pretty interesting. I think the upper body pump is different to anything I've ever felt before. Um, so I think it's great. I think one question I might have is how different we should make sand or calisthenics workout A compared to calisthenics workout B. I know they run like a different set of exercises, and I guess we have the option to choose. But I'm just wondering for to Cody, I guess, to the Stone Circle on, I guess, reasoning behind it. And progression wise, other than the two progression methods in the book that are already more than enough, more challenging enough, I'm just thinking of like way further in the future. I'm guessing other than progressing the speed of which you do them and the amount of rounds you complete, I was wondering maybe you can add a weighted vest and add just a little bit of weight, or you could obviously choose harder exercises. Um, I guess if you wanted to run this program long term, I wonder what's Cody's idea on how he wants to approach that. But that's a way further down the road type question, as the calisthenics circuits are really difficult. Um, if you've never done a race the clock time based workout, I think you're missing out. Um, so yeah, and it includes the door setup with these hook things that I was talking about earlier. So yeah. Also another reason why I chose this program, I guess, is the fact that since I'm more busy and like schoolwork, work itself, other things I gotta do, right? And as a person who wants to train all day, every day, I have to focus and then just do these short workouts. It might be better for overall gains and recovery and things of the like, but yeah, that's another reason because if I follow this program, there's the set rest days and days of work. And that's another reason why you should buy the book, as there's a lot of modifications. There is modifications to have the sandbag to shoulder. There's modifications to train every day. As you just saw, I did the neck portion, or I'm still doing the neck portion. I did neck extensions with a teeth lifting bit, and obviously don't go low reps, heavy weights on neck. Like I would never recommend that. Not saying you can't, right? The the reps for this program is a lot. Like for neck or for core or whatever. And I do understand it's a strength endurance mm, based program, but you can clearly tell that I am not prepared to be to be doing this type of high rep sets. Even on things like neck, which I think I have a fair bit um, amount of time spent on it, as well as the calisthenics. Like this program is very tricky, at least in my opinion. So yeah, here you see me doing the neck extensions with with this thing I got recently. I might make a unboxing review video of it if anyone's super interested. I think it's pretty pricey. I think it's worth it, but to be honest, you don't need it. Same with the DIY teeth lifting bit I made. You don't need any of these things, which is like I said about the program, that it's allowing these other things to be a part of it. You know, it's not just you have to follow with X amount of equipment or things like that. It's very open to different tools, I guess, which is just really nice. Um, yep. So back to neck, right? The the 25 is a lot, like a lot of reps, but yeah, just going for it. And then the nodding portion, um, yeah, and yeah, you see me doing ulnar deviation with a band, right? I think Cody says he does the grip part, the forearm part, um, just with a band. So you see me working ulnar deviation. I think yeah. failed a um failed a physiology for engineers midterm today. Uh, clearly need more time studying. But I think all the other wrist or forearm movements you can do with a martial arts belt other than ulnar deviation. I guess if you hang upside down, maybe. But arm wrestlers use the belt, things like that, and I personally like it. I can use the weight I used for the neck extensions, and since I already have the belt out, it's perfect to do the forearm section with a martial arts belt, I guess. So, yeah. Um, I think this program is good for yoke building. Like, I have a nowhere impressive yoke. We're trying to work on it. But the sandbag carrying movements, um, the focus on forearms and neck work, I do think this program is good for that overall mass, that yoke to look. Um, I'm going to be trying to work on this program uh, through a bulk, so we can try to put on some mass, get some trap size, things like that. That's another problem, I guess, with me, is that it's harder to just get food in, to just get the calories in. My eating window and stuff is short. I'm trying to manage my time, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We're all gonna make it, right? So that's the forearm work, and yeah, uh, yeah. You can see me putting the weight from uh the neck flexion onto the neck extension weights, and I have a stack of weights on the belt, I guess. But checking my phone. I don't know. Let me know what videos people are interested in these days, I guess. If I have time and if I have ideas, I'm trying to put videos out. But yeah, so the ARM section of the program, like I said, you could use, or as Cody said, you could use different tools, right? So I thought I could just use the belt that I use for forearms for the bicep and tricep, and I guess maybe if I did upright rows, it would work for the shoulder portion. Mm, I mean, I used my chest expander, but next time if I have um, even less amounts of time, I think I can do upright rows with the belt to hit my shoulders, and that would be pretty good, I think. One question I do have for Cody on this part of the the workout is for the giant set of bicep curls and tricep extension and shoulders. Do we use different weights? Like, do we use multiple different weights? Do we use like the same weight and then just go for as many reps as possible, which could also work, which is what I'm doing, at least in this video? Or are we just supposed to have a ton of implements? I know you mentioned you used the chest expander for these exercises, but for like the bicep curl, are you doing it unilaterally? Like, are you just doing the left arm and then the right arm and then moving on to triceps, which I guess you can do extensions with both hands, like the sideways press and pull aparts for the shoulders. But I was wondering for bicep curls, are you doing them unilaterally? But um, maybe I didn't read properly or didn't understand properly. It's entirely possible. And these are also like the small stuff. Not sweat over the small stuff. I think the main focus of sandbag intensity is its progression ideas on how to push the main sandbag lifts, and especially the sandbag box squat. So I'm just questioning over the small stuff, I guess. Um, but the book is brilliantly written. in terms of the progression system for sandbag lifts, and then this like multiple weight uh, beat your rep type programming for sandbag is such a brilliant idea. Because I failed the super squats program multiple times because just due to other factors, my core not being braced, or just I don't want to make too many excuses, but I just failed the 5 to 10 pound weight increment. Like I just can't add any more weight on my squat. You know, I don't want to make excuses, but I think the box squat is such a cool exercise because while in super squats, which is this other book, while in super squats, um, the point is to push the squat, right?
The regular barbell back squat.
But compared to the box squat, the fact that you can rest at the bottom so much more and then just keep pushing it, it's more of like a mental thing. I think it's super cool. This program, like the sandbagging intensity, when I first heard about it, I was reminded of the super squats program, which Cody does give credit to in his book. But I think sandbag intensity is like super squats, but I dare say better. Um, at least in my opinion. And the fact that you have multiple weights to choose from to push reps, so you can push a heavier weight for fewer reps as long as you beat your previous record, that allows you to adjust your training. And I think it makes it uh, easier to just keep progressing rather than just failing a 20 reppers and super squats and then just having nowhere to go. Obviously, you can't fail the reps in sandbag intensity. You have to beat your previous um, numbers, as that's the main driver of progression. But that element of choice of the multiple weights just makes it slightly easier to pick your poison, so to speak, and just go for it. The fact that you can rest more on a box, it's really mental at that point. And the fact that you're pushing yourself, pushing past fatigue, and getting more reps in, that's what's going to drive your progression, I guess. So, yeah, I think that part of the program is just just brilliant. Uh, Yeah, so now you can see me doing the last like the 100 reps. Um I think Cody mentioned he used bands for the push downs, but yeah, that I wanted to another question I had for the push downs, I guess, is one, like obviously the weight. I guess if you had a cable tower it'll be easier, but I was wondering how we should choose what band I guess we should do for the pushdowns. I think if memory serves me correct, it was like 50 in a row and then we rest pause to get 100 reps, something like that. But you mentioned you use bands, so I was wondering the reasoning. And then I think this one was one of the exercises where I couldn't really think of what alternative equipment you would use or exercise would you use. Maybe I could replace this with 100 tricep extensions with maybe just the bar, like overhead with a lightweight, or I guess like wall push-ups, maybe like high diagonal incline. I don't know, like wall push-ups, or I guess these tricep extensions were good, like with the band. Um, I guess you can replace it with cables. things like that. But I think that's another one of the exercises that you can't really um, switch in the program. But it's mainly for blood flow, anyways. So I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Then just go for it. Another note is I'm pretty sure I did calisthenics workout B when I was supposed to do calisthenics circuit A. So I'll just do A the next cycle around and then fix it the next week probably. Yeah. So all in all, I think equipment wise, what you have to have is definitely the sandbag. The box you can, um, I guess, try to find something. Maybe you can DIY the sandbag, but definitely the sandbag. You'll need some sort of pull up dip, pull up setup thing for sure. I think an ab wheel is necessary. They're definitely great, like a main thing of the program, and bands for sure. So not the most, definitely not the most expensive set of equipment. And if you were to do this in a nice home gym or in an actual gym, maybe you can bring your own sandbag. I don't know. Uh, um, but yeah. Uh, those are my these are my initial thoughts of the program. I have been working on uh, just eating more, um, meal prepping. If anyone has any
Advice on that, it'll be great.
um, another reason for this video is to mess around with the audio. I think some of my videos, the video audio has been inconsistent. Sometimes I sound like I'm speaking underwater or things like that. So hopefully I can figure something out with the audio. I'm hoping this video, the audio is just great. Like it's clear.
Um,
I can't speak very eloquently, like with my words, unlike these other
YouTubers, that
their
makes
videos super nice. I'm just rambling. So the least I can get right is the audio to be clear and people will know what I'm saying. Um, yeah. Super long video. If you made it this far, leave a smiley face in the comments or something. It's just me rambling for I don't know how long. Um, yeah. I'm gonna be running this program for the foreseeable future. I missed a couple days. I might make a video talking about like yesterday. Um, but I'm gonna be running this program on this bulk